How is it going, everybody? Welcome back. If somebody could let me know if they can see me and hear me and stuff. When I was playing there, just in that little intro, I got an error that came up that said that the internet connection was lost, and so I just want to make sure that everything is that we're on and everything is working okay. It's been storming here for the last few days, and it's just the power and the internet keeps going out. So somebody could just let me know if you can hear me and see me and everything. Make sure that it's working. Thank you, Jersey. Appreciate that. All right. Awesome. Thank you, Jason. Yeah, I just, like I said, when I was playing in that intro, a window popped up on my screen that said that the internet connection was unstable or had been lost or something. I was afraid that everything had crashed. All right, awesome. Well, I'd like to welcome everybody out tonight. I hope everybody had a good Memorial weekend and all that jazz. Supposed to be the beginning of summer, and it just rained here the whole time. So it's wasn't a real great, 3-day weekend or anything, but they never are. I work all the time. All right, so today, I thought I'd show you guys how to play Californication by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. It's one of the easier Red Hot Chili Peppers songs. A lot of their material is actually pretty difficult to play. That guitar player does a lot of really crazy chords that are super hard to play. At least they are for me. But this one's not too bad. It just uses a lot of chords that you probably already know. Hopefully you already know, like open position chords and bar chords and stuff. So it's nothing too crazy. But as usual, there is a link in the description where you can download the tabs for what we're going to go over. So if you want to click that, get your tabs, get your tabs, so that way you can follow along. And the last few times, I kind of didn't. I ended up not having enough material, and then for the amount of time. So this time I'm doing it. I got the whole thing. So maybe we'll get through all of it. Maybe we won't. Oh, Melbourne, Australia. So what's the weather like there now? You guys are just going into winter, right? I suck at knowing this kind of stuff, geography and all that. All right, and as usual, I'm here to answer your guitar questions and stuff. So feel free to ask questions in the comments or in the live chat, and I will try to answer those. All right, so hopefully you got those tabs, and holy crap, yeah, that's cold. That's colder than it is here. And it's cold. I mean, it's been all day today. I actually had to turn my furnace back on, which kind of completely sucks because I just had the air conditioning on, a week ago. All right, so we're going to start off with this. These notes that are going to be playing are within the A minor chord and the F major chord, the full-on bar chord, but you don't have to bar it to be able to play this. So the first measure is with A minor. Oh, it's 95 in Jersey red? Or it's 95 in Jersey red? Yeah, 95 is a little too hot for me. I'll complain. You'll come to find that I bitch when it's too cold and I bitch when it's too hot. It's got to be just right for me. All right, so we take that you just take your regular A minor chord, and we're just going to be playing. We're not going to be strumming yet. We're just kind of arpeggiating this, and this is made up of eighth notes. So we play the open A string, and then to the D string, which we're on the second fret, So that's 1 and then on the downbeat of 2, we're going to play the B string open, and then the and of 2, you put your finger down onto the first fret like you're doing A minor. So it's like 1 and 2 and then that that note there that's the and of 2 is tied to a half note. So it takes care of the and of 2 plus all of beat 3 and beat 4. So it's like 1 and 2 and 3, 4, and then we're going to go to the next measure. So for those of you who are new players, when you pick this, if you go down, down, up, down, so you're down on A, down on D, up on the B string, and then back down on the B strings. Just like that. All right, so that's the first measure. Now for the second measure, we're going to do a very similar thing, but this time it's based around F. So for me, it's easier just to grab this F bar chord because I already have muscle memory for that shape. But if you are a new player, bar chords are, as a general rule, are a nightmare, and you avoid them. So a simpler way to do it, you're going to put your first finger onto the first fret of the low E, and then your third finger onto the third fret of the A string. So it's just like you're doing like a power chord. And then we're going to pick this E, A, and then to the G string, and then to the second fret of the G string with your middle finger. So it's that same timing. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. So that's the first two measures. All right, so measure 3 is the same as measure 1. Measure 4 is the same as measure 2. So you're just going to play that riff twice, and then those 4 measures are repeated. So you end up playing that whole sequence a total of 4 times. Now, when it goes into the next section, which is the verse, it's just the first 4 measures are just the exact same thing as the intro. You're just there's just vocals over it now. So on the first part of it, it's just the guitar, and then the vocals come in on the verse section, which starts on measure 5. And like it's the same thing as the intro. The first 4 measures of it are anyway. All right, so everybody with me so far? Not too bad. I mean, just 2 chords and basically 2 little riffs that are just about the same thing. So not too bad so far. But before we move on, has anybody got any questions about it or having any issue with it or anything like that? All right. So we'll just go ahead and move along. So here we're on the verse, and we just did the first 4 measures, which is just that riff we did from the intro. And then here's where it changes up a little bit. So now we go to a C chord. So it's just your regular open position C chord, probably the first chord you learned. And we're going to play this all as 8th notes. So on the downbeat of 1, we're going to play the A and the D string together. And then on the and of 1, we hit the open G string. And then on the downbeat of 2, we hit the open high E. And then on the and of 2, the B string when our first finger's on that. So 1 and 2 and then we switch to a G, and it's more or less the same thing. But now we're just basically moving everything down one set of strings. So now we're going to play the low E and the A together on the downbeat of 1. And then we're going to play the D string on the and of 1. So 1 and then we're going to play the B string on the downbeat of 4, and then the open G string on the and of 4. So that's just the first measure. All right. Now, when you're playing this, one of the things that I've seen, because I've gone through this with private lessons, like, a gajillion times, and one of the problems that a lot of, well, especially beginners, but not just beginners, a lot of people I've seen have had this issue. I mean, I do it myself. You will note, now that I'm going to point out what I'm talking about, if you just pay attention to my playing for the rest of this video, I will probably end up doing this a million times. So what it is that here it's specifically saying, E and A, G, E, B. Now, when you go to do that and you say that you accidentally strum all three, you get the E, A, and the E. Oh my gosh, the A, D, and G strings, and you get the G string thrown in there accidentally. Not a big deal, because you're not playing a note that isn't inside of the chord, so it's not going to sound bad. It's going to make it sound a little bit different than how like the song sounds like on the record, but not enough of a difference to to beat yourself up because you hit that string or whatever. It's just not a big deal. So that being said, you want to try to play it the best you can, but if you make a mistake and you end up hitting a string that you shouldn't, as long as it's doesn't contain a note for whatever reason that's outside of the chord, it's going to sound good. So you could end playing A, D, and G together, and then hitting the B string, and then the E string, and then the B string again, like kind of changing the order somewhat of how the strings are being played. And like I said, it's fine. It's just not a big deal. All right, so that's the first two measures, the first measure of this part, measure 9. So with the C. So with this, I do the picking kind of like I said to do it on the other part, like where I'm going to hit the A and the D together is a downstroke, and then the G is a downstroke, and then the high E is an up, and the B is an up. Switch to the G, same thing. You're just moving it down a set of strings. All right, and then go to the next measure, measure 10, and this is where it could become a little bit more challenging for those of you who are beginners. So we've got that F, but now we're going to actually do the full-on F chord. So you need to bar your first finger all the way across the first fret of all 6 strings. Then your second finger will go to the second fret of the G string. Your third finger will go to the third fret of the A string, and your fourth finger will go to the fourth fret of the D string. Oh, hey, beer hounds. I remember you from last week, I believe. Let's see. So we've got that F. So now we're going to do the same picking pattern on this that we did with F. So we're going to hit the low E and the A string together, to the D string, to the B string, to the G string. Then we're going to do another bar chord. Now we're going to do a minor bar chord with the root note being on the A string. So if you take the shape that we've got right now and you just move it up, so you're barring at the 5th fret, and then move all of these fingers up 1 string. So the second finger will go from the G to the B string. The 4th finger will go from the D to the G string, and your 3rd finger will go from the A to the D string. And so that's D minors. And then on this one, we hit A, D, and G and B together. So that's 3 and 4. let's see, all strings barred. Yeah, for the F, if you're referring to that one, you're going to bar across all 6 strings. But when you do this D minor one we move up here to, you don't play the low E at all. You just, so you don't have, I mean, you can just bar all the way across if that's more comfortable, but you can just bar across the first 5 strings for that one. All right, so that would make that whole verse. Oh, hi, Rick. No worries, we're not too far into it. I'm gonna recap this verse, which will show you what the intro, the part you missed, was like. Okay, so start the first, because if you notice that the verse at the beginning of it says major 5 on your transcription, that's the beginning of a repeat, and then when we get through that D minor that we just said is the end of the repeat. So you're gonna play these 6 measures twice for the verse. So starting with the A minor, and then that F, A minor again, F again. Now to the C, G, F, D minor, and then that would lead us into the next part of the song. All right, so we've gone over the intro and we've gone over the verse, and the intro is half of the verse. And we've still got like the bridge and the chorus and the solo section to look at. So we're actually doing pretty good here. Let's see here. Having problems with the bar chords, fingers too arthritic. Yeah, bar chords are difficult. There's some stuff that we can do. I'll talk to you later about that. There's some things that you can do, like if you're having problems like with, you know, if you have like arthritis or just problems with your hands and you're not being able to squeeze hard enough and everything, there's some alternative things that you can do around that. One thing being simply is just get really light gauge strings. You know, you can get like a set of strings that are 8s, and they're super, super light, much, much easier to press down. And then just make sure your guitar is set up well so it's not difficult, to play and press down. Oh, hey, Sebastian, what's going on? And when I saw that name pop up, and I was like, what is that? And then I remembered, yeah, everybody, the Di Desperado, that's a guy named Sebastian Martin. He used to be the second guitar player in my band, Sonic Prophecy. Yeah, and that's the thing with arthritis, is it does get worse. I mean, I feel you. I've got it too. I injured this hand in a car accident, like rolled a car onto it, just mangled it. And they told me that when I got to be about 40 that I would start having arthritis, and it's really kicked it up in the last few years. Oh, thanks, Beerhound. Yeah, Jersey, if you tried the lighter gauge strings, it is really helpful to do that. Yeah, so before we move on, does anybody have any questions about those parts that we've just gone over thus far? So on the D minor bar chord, so that there you can bar across all 6 strings, but technically you don't play this low E. So just across the first 5. how I like to do it when I do these bar chords where they're rooted on the A string is that I'm playing like this, but I don't know how you're going to be able to see this, but can you see how the low E string is sitting right on the tip of my finger? I do that so that way it mutes it on the E. Yeah, that's what this is the D minor. Yeah, I that's why I put my finger here, so that way if I do strum it, that string is muted, because you wouldn't want to get that E in there because it's not part of that triad, so it makes it sound weird. If it was E minor, you could do that, but with this, it's not going to sound good. All right, so the next section we're going to look at is the bridge. Now, so for the bridge section, this is strumming instead of arpeggiating, and this section only has 2 chords. So we've got the regular C chord like we did before, and then we have F major 7. So to make F major 7 from this C, your first finger just stays where it is, but you take your second and third fingers and you move them up a set of strings. So instead of your third finger being on the A string and your second being on the D string, you just move them up. So now your third finger is on the 3rd fret of the D string and your second finger is on the 2nd fret of the G string. And you play the high E string open, but you just start strumming. You try not to get these other notes. Now, if you end up getting the open A string, it's not a big deal because there's an A in this chord. Technically, there's an E in it too, but if you hit all of it, it's just not going to sound good. So you really want to try to just get those first 4 strings whenever possible. Yes, it like a C, you just move it up 1 set of strings, but your first finger does not, it stays on the 2nd string. So on the B string. So this chord it's F major 7. So what it is that it's got to have, it's an F chord with the 7th tone in. So in that key, like normally you'd play F like this. That's an F right here on the top end. But we switched that to an E, and now we have F major 7. Okay, so on this, we've got a whole measure of A minor. So I'm not even going to attempt to count this out, because if you look at this, we start off, we've got a dotted 8th note, then a 16th note, and then 2 more 16th notes, another dotted 8th note, 3 16th notes, and then 2 8th notes. So I could figure it out and teach you exactly how to count it, and by the time I did that, there'd probably be like blood coming out of my eye or ear or something. It's just not worth it. It's a lot. Yes, the high E is open on the F major 7, Glenn. So what we're going to do is, instead of like doing that, we're just going to kind of feel it out. Exactly. You're going to go by the feel. So for this, the one way that when you look at the notation, if it's something like this, where it's just, going to be crazy to try to count it out, what you can do is you can look and go, okay, well, we've got an 8th note that's dotted. So that means it's going to ring out for 50% longer. So it's going to be an 8th note plus a 16th note. Hi, Oscar. And then we've got a 16th note. So a 16th note is half the length of an 8th note. So it's like long, short, 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 long, short, 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 long, long. So how I do it is down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down. That's just how I've always done it. And it's just a continuous strum like that. But when you get to the last, that 4, and then you switch to the F major 7, and you do the same strum, and then it goes back to the A minor, and then back to the F major 7 again. So this is like the intro where the first 2 measures is the riff. And then we do it 4 measures, so that means we do it twice, and then we repeat it 6 times. So we're gonna play that whole sequence 12 times. So you got the F major 7, back to A minor, back to F major 7, just the same thing over again. Just like that. Now, well, actually, I guess we can. Well, let me just kind of address it now. Yeah, use drums as a guideline. I never really thought about it. It's like as drums, more like drum. One of the things that I always teach students, like tell them, is like, because learning how to strum to get that rhythm seems to be one of the most difficult things that I've noticed that people, struggle with. So on that, it would be a strum like, or excuse me, like if you tapped it out, I don't know if you can hear that or not. So I just translate like naturally for me. That was right, left, right. Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, right. So then I just translate that into down, and like the right hand is the downstroke and the left hand is an upstroke, and you can figure out most things that way. It might bring it out at first. It's like really staccato, and then you just kind of have to keep playing it so it kind of smooths out the edges a little bit. Okay, so something before we move on that I want to point out. So do you guys, well, I'm sure that maybe some of you do, but everybody probably doesn't, especially if you're beginning, you probably haven't really gone over this stuff. But at the very this on the intro, right above where it says A minor, there's 3 little symbols. Kind of looks like, made it like a pyramid. It looks like S's, like fancy looking S's with a line through them. You see what I'm talking about? Do you know what those are? And then come down to where we just played through. It says up above the measure, it says 2 coda, and then the line underneath it says 2 double coda. So what this is it's musical direction. So there's like kind of a music shorthand that can be inside songs sometimes that can point you to go around to different areas of the song, so that way it doesn't have to be rewritten again. If like the first verse and the second verse are the same, there's no point in like rewriting out the entire thing if you can have the shorthand to kind of guide you. Now, I don't want to get too complex into this because it can get, just like anything else, it can be really complicated, but just kind of we're going to kind of simplify it a little bit. So we have 2 symbols that we need to look at. The first one being those symbols that are at the very beginning of it over the first measure. So if you just look at one of those singularly, just, there's the single one, and then the next line has a double one. So that it looks like an S, and that is what is called a segno. All of these are Italian terms because that was when they, when the Western part of the world did music, decided on their musical, rules. It was done in Italy, so all of the terms are in Italian. So we've got, that's a segno, and then 2 of them next to each other would be a double segno. And then down there where we were just at on the bridge, it says 2 coda, 2 double coda. So coda is another. So we got 2 words that we're going to look at: segno and coda. Coda is always the last command. So if you, in a song, if it tells you to, like here, it says to coda, well, we're not going to go to the coda because we already know there's a segno because of it at the very first of the song. So we don't do anything until it tells us to go to the segno. So you go to segno first and coda second. It doesn't always have both of them in there. And I'm sorry if this is slightly confusing. I could spend an entire hour trying to explain this, but basically, just in a nutshell, to get you through this song, is that after we play that bridge part that we just did, the next section, top of page 2, is the first chorus. And at the end of the chorus, it says dies al coda. So what that means is that you're going to go to the segno, and then you'll go to a coda. So when we get to the end of this line, instead, before we went on to the next section where it says second chorus, we would go to the segno. So we go all the way back to the first, because that's the segno, and we would just start playing it again from the beginning until we get to the end of that bridge, and then it says to coda. Then we would jump to the coda sign. So if you look here at the second chorus, up at the top of it, we've got 3 symbols again. It's like a circle with a cross in the center of it. So if you think about that, it's like you're looking down like a scope of a rifle, like, the crosshairs. That's how I always think of it. And it's the last command. So I always kind of think of it as like, if you've got, if you got something in the crosshairs, it's the end. Well, it is for them anyway. That's just how it helped me to remember it. And again, I don't want this to be really confusing and stuff. If all of this like really just kind of like, it confused you and you don't understand, no big deal. Don't even really worry about it. We're going over all the parts. All the parts sound different enough that when you listen to the song, you can go, oh, that's the chorus, that's the verse, that's the bridge. And then you'll be able to play everything because you have all here. But knowing the musical direction, it'll just point you to where everything goes and what comes next. It's only complicated for those of us who are conscious. It's like a different language. Yes, very much. And no, it is not like Locrian. Locrian is a mode, which is it's a musical thing, but it's completely different than this. Yeah, if you, like I said, you learn the parts and you can play the whole song, but this is just a thing so you could like sight read through it. If there's interest in like actually, having a full, like, doing a full lesson live stream on how musical direction works, leave it in the chat. And, if there's enough interest, then that's something that, we could do for sure. Okay. So let's look at the chorus. So at the top of page 2, we've got our chorus, and now we've got our C and G. And now we've got D minor, but instead of doing up here, we're going to do the open D minor down here. And then another A minor again. So those are the chords that make up the chorus. Chili Peppers use theory in their music. Not necessarily. So this part of it, as far as the stuff with the musical direction, like this sheet music that I gave you, I made this. So I just, I figured the song out and I tabbed it out. I put the musical direction in there just because that way, so this transcription, you're learning the whole song, but it's only 2 pages long versus if it was if it didn't have the musical direction and everything had to be rewritten out again, it would end up being more pages. It might be 5 or 6 pages long. And so that's the reason for using this. And that was the reason it was used originally. Because originally when all this stuff was put together, like all figured out, it was like, there were like orchestras and, big musical ensembles. And the printing press hadn't been invented. So everything, all of the sheet music was handwritten. So if there were parts that were repeated, rather than make some poor scribe sit there, have to keep writing the same thing over and over and over and over again, maybe hundreds of times for all the different musicians, they developed the musical direction. It's just basically, you know, like shorthand to kind of walk you around through the song. All right, so the strumming here changes a little bit. So now we've got 2 16th notes and an 8th note, and then a quarter note. So the 2 16th notes would be 1E and then the quarter note would be 2. 1E and 2, 3E and 4. So we're on C, 1E and 2. So how I do this is down, up, down, down. This is just the way that I strum it. It isn't necessarily has to be done like that. So that's 1E and 2, then you switch to G, 3E and 4. Then you go to D minor, same thing, 1E and 2 to A minor, 3E and 4. So. Then the third measure is the same as the first one, so we're back to the C to G again. And then the fourth measure, which is measure 18 on the transcription, is just a D minor, and it's a whole note. So that would be like, oh man, I can't sing, and it's really hard to play that and sing at the same time for me. So that's the end of the chorus. Now, again, coming back to the this is a great song. Coming back to the musical direction. So here we're the end of that chorus. It says DSL coda. If you just ignored that, went on to the next line, it would just be the second chorus, which that isn't where it does next. So you listen to the song. Once you get through that first chorus at the end of Dreaming Californication, it goes right back into the because that segno told us to go back to the first. So we play through that whole intro thing again, that whole verse again, the whole bridge again. So the bridge was the first strumming part. My voice is in the pocket. My voice would be best to be kept buried deep, deep, deep down in a pocket where no one can hear it. Oh crap! Now I lost my place. Oh, okay, yeah. So we get to the end of the bridge, and then it says to coda. So now we're going to jump up to the second chorus because that's where the first coda is. So the second chorus is the same as the first chorus. It's just longer. So we start with the C again, G, D minor, A minor, C, G, D minor. And this time the D minor takes up the whole measure. 1E and 2, 3E and 4, C, 1E and 2, G, 3E and 4, and then D minor, 1E and 2, A minor, 3E and 4, C, G, D minor for a whole measure, the Dreaming Californication. Then that is what brings us into the guitar solo. So I'm not going to teach you how to play the guitar solo itself. Although on this song, from what I remember, it's like really easy. But what we're going to look at here is what the rhythm guitar is doing during that part. So it's got a little bit of like a key change to it. So now we've got another full-on bar chord. So if we take that F major bar chord we did here, and we're just going to move it up one fret, and then take our middle finger off. So now it's minor. So we've got that same strum that we had on the bridge. See, so it's a whole measure of that. Then we're going to go to a D major, but it's the bar chord. So I'm picking up the 5th fret of the A string with my first finger, and then the 7th fret of the D, G, and B string with my 3rd finger. Same strum. Back to the F minor, or F sharp minor. Back to the D. So you end up doing that twice, and then we're going to do a couple of chords with this same shape. So if we take this same shape here of this D major, now we're going to move it down. So our first finger's at the 2nd fret, and our 3rd finger's at the 4th. So this will make it B. And now this is quarter notes. We've got 1, 2, back up to the D for 3, 4. Then to A major for 1, 2. And then just regular old E major, the open position, 3, 4. And then that would repeat. So that's the end of the repeat, and then it goes back to the beginning of the solo section. So we've got the... And then it would go back to this, that again. So you play through that, you just repeat it once, and then we're back to that B again, D again, A, E minor, or excuse me, E major, and then those 2 measures repeat. It's like... Now, at the end of that, now it says DSS, al double coda. So that means it's 2 segnos, del segno segno, al double coda. So that means that we're going to go to the double segno. So we come all the way back to the intro again, because that's where the double segno is. Now we play the intro, the verse, and the whole bridge. And then at the end of the bridge, this time it says to double coda. So the double coda is the 2nd chorus again. And then at the end of it, it just says there in the text, song ends here after double coda. So that's where the song ends. You do that 2nd chorus, the... Californication. And that's it. That's the whole song. All right. So that last part there, we kind of pushed through a couple of those things quick, but they weren't as complicated to like understand as like the first parts of it was, if you're a beginner. But yeah, so oh, thanks, Rick. Thanks, appreciate it. So yeah, so those are all the parts, and like I said, if the musical direction thing that I went over, is confusing or whatever, don't let that ruin your day. Just like learn the parts, and then when you listen to the song, it's easy to tell, oh, that's a verse, that's a chorus, so you'll have the parts, and you'll be able to put it together that way. But it is something good to learn. It is good to learn the musical direction, because it can be helpful. Just an example of what I'm talking about, like it can save space, is that that Green Day song, Wake Me Up When September Ends. I transcribed that for a student, whole song, and used musical direction. And it ended up being a total of 4 pages, because that's a pretty long song. It has a lot of parts. Well, fast forward a little time into the future, and a student of mine came over, and I noticed in his guitar case that he had the official Green Day songbook. And I said, hey, can I take a look at that? And so I turned to the transcription for Wake Me Up in September Ends in there. And it was the same as mine, except there was no musical direction. So instead of being 4 pages, it was 11 pages. So I think that sometimes the publishers won't use it just because it'll make the book really thick. So that way it looks, you're like, oh, it's that thick. I guess it's worth, $30 or whatever they cost. But if it was like, really thin, you might be hesitant to think that, well, why do I want that? Look how thin it is. All right. So does anybody have any questions? Just questions in general. We've still got a few minutes. So it doesn't necessarily have to be about anything that we've talked about thus far. If you just have any, general guitar questions or. Oh, thanks, Jersey. I appreciate that. You're too kind. And don't know what you're talking about, but that's cool too, but I appreciate it. Oh, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And it's cool that you like. I was like kind of skeptical of even doing the song because I don't know. It's not. It's like I know if I come out here and I do, I play some Zeppelin or AC/DC or something that everyone's gonna dig that. But Chili Peppers, it's not for everybody. All right, Jersey. All right, so nobody has any questions or anything? Is there anybody here tonight that's new? I can see in the comments, like, lots and lots of have like kind of a core group of people that are here all the time. Jersey, of course. Beer Hounds, he's been here a couple times now. Rick, he's OG. So anybody new here tonight? Oscar, he's been here for a while as well. The something effect, I can't tell what that is in front of it. I'm just going to call you the effect. Welcome. Appreciate you being here. Yeah, Oscar, you're one of the. Jersey was like, I think he was like the very first person here for the very first one I did. He's been here every time. All right. Well, yeah. Oh, thanks, Pat. Welcome. Oh, butterfly effect. Duh. I'm blind. Don't let these glasses fool you. They don't really work. I'd have to have I need to get me like a 170-inch monitor or something so I can read half of this stuff. Oh, no worries, Oscar. All of the live streams are all, you can watch them as a rerun as well. And even if you're not here, you can still download the tabs for everything we do and stuff. All right. Well, I'd like to thank everybody that came out tonight. I really appreciate it. If you like what I'm doing, hit that thumbs up button and, leave comments, join the live chat. All that stuff really helps with the whole, YouTube algorithm thing. Trying my camera to focus again. If you haven't already if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you get notified. We do this every week. I do 2 or 3 just regular YouTube, guitar lessons on this channel every week too. Like there was one just published like a couple of hours ago. And I shot new ones today. So Tuesday is a pretty busy day for me. It's when I shoot all my videos and then come on here and do this. So oh, thanks, Oscar. I really appreciate that. All right. Well, again, I thank everybody for coming out. It's really great. Like I've said in the past and stuff, you guys that have been here all along know that this gives me like massive anxiety as a general rule to do this. And anyhow, you guys have just really helped out a lot with that, being here. Appreciate the support. And I will be back again next Tuesday, same time. Don't know what we're going to do. I'll figure that out, hopefully before 7 o'clock next Tuesday. All right. But again, thanks everybody for coming out. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I will see you guys in the next stream. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks.